I will say one of the things I probably could have and should have done differently is let go of some of the control that I have. Had I given that control off to someone that I knew and trusted a long time ago, maybe I would be on a beach somewhere sipping pina coladas. I'm very proud of the fact that I've created a business that gives me that freedom, the flexibility to spend that time with my kids now because I put the work in early on when I was in my 20s and in my 30s. My one regret is that I wish I would have traveled more.
Welcome to another episode of The Founder's Hustle, the show where we pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build a business. I talk each week with owners who have lived it, and I'm your host, Judy Swafford. But let's get to the hustle. Today's guest is Hilary Olney, founder of Trips Ahoy, a travel agency that helps people plan unforgettable getaways. She's a business owner, a mom, a sports enthusiast, and full disclosure, she's also a killer pickleball player, which is exactly how we met. But I'm really excited to hear your story. Every business has its own unique journey, but before we jump into your backstory, give me a quick overview of your business. What do you do? Who do you serve? And what makes it so special?
Well, first of all, Judy, thank you so much for having me. And, this has been quite an adventurous 30 years. So I own, like you said, Trips Ahoy Travel, and we specialize in international travel, mostly a lot of adults only, all-inclusive resorts. We also specialize in multi-generational family group travel. And recently, we've been expanding our horizons to a lot of European destinations and river cruises and things like that. So it's been something we started back in 1995. I started it myself with about $777 in my accessible savings account. So I actually started with my sister, who was kind enough to lend me an office free of rent for the first year. And she also paid for all of my outgoing FedEx for documents and my mailings and all of that. And it didn't hurt to have her be her own business owner in the marketing and advertising agency that she had with a partner. So they were tremendous help when I started.
So you're celebrating, I believe, 30 years this year, correct?
Correct.
You mentioned that you started this fresh out of college at the age of 24. So what inspired you to start a travel agency? What did you know about the travel industry, and how did you even come upon that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I am the youngest of four girls. My dad owned his own business, so we had that role model. My oldest sister, she owns her own law firm. And then my other sister that helped me get started owns her own advertising and marketing agency. So I had a lot of help from family to get started, which is why I wasn't scared to dive in and think, yeah, they're successful. I can do this too. So I did go to Western Michigan University, and I was in the university curriculum for 2 years going, what am I doing here? I don't have any direction. And one day I actually got to class early, and I was sitting outside my classroom, and I turned around and there was a board that had travel and tourism majors and their photos. And I was like, what? This is a thing? So I looked at the list of classes required, and I had taken most of them already. And so I thought, well, this seems very natural. I'm going to go down this avenue. So that's what I did. I talked to the counselor that day, and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to declare this as my major. And they asked me what else I wanted to do as a minor, and did I want to do a double minor, because I told them I wanted to go into my own business, which at the time was just to fulfill his answer. I didn't really know that's what I was going to do. So that's how I ended up declaring that as a major. I do a Spanish minor, and they wanted me to do business minor as well, but I didn't want to stay in college that long. I was anxious to get started on my journey. So I did an internship, and I thought that was really important. And I encourage anyone who's in college that's offered an internship to go down that channel, because everyone wants experience. They're looking at your resume, or they want to hire you. They're looking to say, hey, what have you done? And so I think that's really important. So I have then taken interns myself. So I've had probably 3 or 4 over the years, and I see them successful in their journeys, and some of them aren't in travel anymore, but that's okay.
Interesting. All right. So fast forward to today, 30 years later, you're still in the industry. You're thriving. You're very successful. Describe your journey in 3 words.
Yeah. So I would say adventure, resilience, and freedom. So I say adventure because, as you know, I was 24 and I didn't really know what I was doing. And so every day, and this continues to this day, every day is different from the day before. You don't know what you're going to get with clients, with airlines, with resorts, with changes, with travelers who can't go at the last minute. And there's so much. So we constantly pivot in this business to accommodate our clients and make sure that their trip is planned from beginning to end, successful. Because we're the middleman, there's some things we can't control, and a lot of things can happen between what we put together and then when they actually get on their journey. So we're always here to help them along the way. And if we aren't personally available, if it's 2 a.m. and you have a problem because you're on the other side of the world where it's, 8 o'clock in the morning, there's somebody at a toll-free number on your documents that you can call to get assistance. So it's 24 hours, and we pride ourselves on that customer service to make sure that your trip goes perfectly from the beginning to the end. And even when you get home, we send a thank you and ask about your journey and your experience. And we want the good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, we know it's not always perfect, but we do our darndest.
Right, right. Well, and the industry itself has changed quite a bit. Like, how has the internet affected your business over the 30 years?
So here's kind of a funny story, because I started downtown Kalamazoo in my sister's office, and she ended up hiring another marketing person and needed my office. So I thought, I need to move. And that was in 1997. And my thought was, should I put this thing called the internet in my new office? And thankfully, I thought, well, it's only $25 a month. I think I can afford it. So if I don't end up using it, it's not that much of an investment, right? So I sit and think about that moment and think, what if I hadn't done that? Because now I sit behind a computer. Everyone's on the internet. I do emails all day, every day. Less on the phones, which is how we started. Everything was by the phone before we had the internet. And everyone thought that the normal travel agents like ourselves would be out of business by now because of the internet. And I have to be honest with you. So our business actually grew. There's millions of pages of travel that confuses people. They come to us to help sift through all of that, and we can do it very easily. So I had the best year ever after the internet started to, be a thing in everyone's, hands and households. I think there was a time when people would go to what we call an OTC, which is an online travel company like Expedia, Travelocity. And I think for a while, people would just buy based on price, what they would find on their own. But it's come back around. People want that personalized service where they can actually call me and say, hey, I want to do this, and I will customize a package to meet their needs. But a lot of people are coming back around. They want to give me, a small business owner, the business. And in fact, I just had somebody call me on Friday and they said, we really found you and want to work with you because you're local and we want to support the local business. And I said, that for me and is money, I mean, to
Oh,
give
yeah.
us the business over, some conglomerate out there that really is just going to be like, take your money, and then they don't care who you are. You can call in and you'll get a different person every time. They don't know you. You have to explain your whole situation. And I try to get to know my clients personally. There's multiple clients that travel with me over and over and over again, which is how I've really built the business, is based on referrals, that repeat client, and the customer service that we provide.
Yeah, that's interesting. So speaking of building the business, let's go back to your first year in business. Like, what marketing tactics did you use? How did you even begin to get your first client and build the business?
Yeah. So, like I said, I started in my sister's set of offices, but I started with my phone on the floor because I didn't even have a desk yet. And I used to sit on the floor in that office, dialing contact all and telling them that I want to be a supplier. I want them to be one of my suppliers, that I'm a new travel agency in town and that we're just getting started. And I actually had some clients that were already kind of lined up, just waiting for me to make the move to go out on my own. So that was really helpful of my sister to allow me to have that space. And she was wonderful as far as the advertising and marketing goes, because she was wonderful at print marketing. So there would be little local papers and she would create ads, and we would put my dogs in the ads to draw attention to it. My name of the company is Trips Ahoy. It should be fun. It should be, something where you look forward to planning. It shouldn't be like, oh, this is exhausting and I don't want to do this, And so we try to make it fun, and that was part of that. And we also did a lot of events. Anytime we could be out in person, bridal shows, expos, and we'd go places, we'd do trunk or treat and just have a trunk and open up our car and have brochures and things like that. And so we just wanted to make sure that we got our name out there, that we got our faces out there, and that people knew that we were the people to go to when they wanted to travel. So that's kind of how we started, is just my sister being really good at just finding the markets and writing the right things and putting in those ads and, being involved in the community and things like that. So that was really helpful. I will say I have a little bit of a unique marketing story, as I was back in 2004, and one of our suppliers came out with a program that allowed us to choose one of two types of vehicles, and they would wrap the vehicle with palm trees and sand and couples on the beach, and our name was on the outside of it. And so I went through this program, and it was, drive the car with our stuff wrapped around it in combination with you, and we will pay for your payment for 4 years. And so I was like, well, gosh, that's kind of a no-brainer. So I did do that. And since then, I have now wrapped 5 different cars through the program. And so I think that's a really unique way that we started to get our name out there, as well as our preferred supplier, who's still one of our preferred suppliers today.
That's another great story. You're talking about print advertising and the hustle that you took with a telephone on the floor. What do you do today? Are you still needing to advertise, or do you have a pretty robust referral business?
I definitely have a great network of referrals. And honestly, the social media is where we are present on all of the important ones where people are. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, a lot of just being out there and letting people know that, hey, we're still here. However, just having people refer us is money, and it doesn't cost us anything. So we just want to make sure that we take excellent care of the people each and every time they come to us, so that they know that they have somebody to guide them. I think that's ultimately what people are looking for, is they just want to have that peace of mind that they have someone on their side if they need you. Some people need me, some people don't after the sale. But like I said, we try to take care of everyone along the way, and just kind of hold their hand, from, someone who's traveled for the last 30 years to someone who's, starting off on their honeymoon or maybe doing a destination wedding in Jamaica. We want to make sure that we take care of them and their guests, so everyone's comfortable before they go.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. So you started off as a solo entrepreneur. You worked it, you did the grind, you did the hustle, and your business starts to flourish. Now you're looking down the idea of, I need to start hiring people. Walk me through that process. At what point did you realize you need to add more staff, and how did you go about doing that?
Yeah. So it was about 2004 was when I realized that I needed to actually have someone in the office to help me out, whether it's to answer phones, help with research, getting back to clients, doing documents, that type of thing. So I did have 2 gals that used to work in my office with me, and they were actually prior independent contractors, which I have one gal who has been with me from the beginning. Well, I actually met her at a bridal show, and she was one of the brides, actually modeling brides' dresses. And she came over to my table, and I had my travel information there, and she's been with me ever since. So that's sort of how I've built it. But I will say, one of the things I probably could have and should have done differently is let go of some of the control that I have. My father was a manufacturer's sales representative in the automotive aftermarket, and he worked by himself. So I saw the amount of attention to detail that he took with his clients and tried to do the same for myself. But in doing that, I have a hard time relinquishing some of the control. And had I given that control off to someone that I knew and trusted a long time ago, maybe I would be on a beach somewhere sipping pina coladas. But instead, I'm still here pounding the pavement.
The lesson that I hear there really is exactly what you said. Because you didn't relinquish control, that may have set you back a little bit. So you're suggesting moving forward, give up some control and allow, trust your employees more, and you could see faster growth. Okay. Great point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and being a successful entrepreneur for 30 years now, and you mentioned this earlier, there's a lot of ups and downs. Tell me about an oh shoot moment or a time where you just literally wanted to throw the towel in.
Well, I think everyone kind of experienced a little of this in their lives when 9/11 happened. That was probably the first moment where I questioned, what am I doing? I didn't know what was going to come of that situation. And I remember sitting at home watching on the news what was happening. Also, in the back of my mind, thinking, you got to get ready and go to work because I have people traveling. I have people leaving tomorrow. I have people that are leaving that weekend. The confidence in traveling eventually came back, and we survived that. And so that was wonderful. But that was my first setback. And then I would say things along the way that we had no control over, like the Zika virus that had people scared to go out of the country. And then I have to say COVID. The planes were grounded. I literally couldn't do my job every day. And so here I had been in business for so long. This was my everyday. And now I'm told you can't do that because we're not going to let you. Thankfully, my parents had taught me to save for the rainy day because COVID was my rainy day. And we came back better, stronger, even more financially stable. People just really wanted to travel. I think it's in all of us to not want to stay in one place and to get out and enjoy the world and see different experiences and just get away from your regular everyday life. So that was actually a blessing in disguise at the end of it. Going through it wasn't, but to be able to stay here and say to you that, yes, we survived that and we're stronger and better than ever because of it. Like I said, a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that's a good story too. As you went through these different turns and bumps and areas of contemplation of what's going to happen next, who did you have as a mentor, or who could you discuss your business with to figure out how to pivot and what to do next?
Yeah, so I did take a lot of it on myself, but I also did lean on my independent contractors and other people that are in the business because they understand. And I think that just having somebody to lean on in the business was really helpful, but also my family, my sisters, my parents, my significant others. So I think that just being able to have that network of people that are close to me, know me best, to be able to complain to cry to laugh with.
So as a business owner, what sacrifices have you made that really nobody sees?
Initially your time, right? Because that is, and time for me has always been something that, if you're willing to spend time with me, that's kind of my love language that says, you can't get back time. It's non-refundable. So if you like today, the fact that you're spending this time with me today, it feels wonderful to have that time shared with somebody to talk about my business, which honestly I haven't talked about in so many years. Just they're doing it and you're just still doing the grind, and to actually have you come on and be like, oh my gosh, I care about your business and I care about your backstory. It's really wonderful. So thank you for that. But yeah, I think that time is mostly in the beginning. And then I've had a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility, which I'm very thankful for, so that I can spend time with my kids. So, I've gotten to the point where when my kids were young, I was appreciating that flexibility that I can actually go to the school and pick them up. And also I would walk to their elementary schools and have that, conversation with them on the way home. Those are things that moms can't replace. So I did struggle a little bit with the whole work life, kids, family balance, but I figured it out real quick. And now it's one of the greatest things that I think I've ever done. And I'm very proud of the fact that I've created a business that gives me that freedom, the flexibility to spend that time with my kids now, because I put the work in early on when I was in my 20s and in my 30s. I'm an older mom. I didn't have my kids until my late 30s, and I had my son at 40. And so, I think that helped me appreciate being able to put that work in the beginning. So now I can, pause a little bit when I need to and be there and be present for them and create a life that I can be proud of that has supported my kids along the way. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a
I think that's
great.
what a lot of people strive for that I've been speaking with, whether they're budding entrepreneurs or actual entrepreneurs. Everybody wants that freedom, that time. And a lot of people, they sacrifice a lot on the front end to get
Yeah,
rewarded on the back end. And you're starting to see those
definitely.
rewards, which is really cool. What's some of the best advice that you've ever received that you may have taken or you may have ignored?
Well, so when I was looking to move my business, I needed to look for space for my office, and I didn't need much. And so I found this cute little office that was in the heart of where I pretty much grew up. And so I met with the gentleman, and he said that, he appreciated my enthusiasm and he really, wanted to rent to me. However, he demanded that I had a business plan. And being that I was only in business for 2 years and really kind of flying by the seat of my pants with a lot of help from my family and friends, I was like, a business plan? Like, what even is that? So I left that meeting and I kind of felt a little bit defeated, but at the same time I thought, you know what? No, this has inspired me to continue my quest. This isn't the right spot for me because I didn't want to have to do a business plan. So I ended up renting across the street from him, and I was an incredible tenant for the 14 years that I was there. And so for me, it was kind of a moment of, redemption, because it's like, okay, you, buddy, could have had me as a tenant for 14 years, yet you chose to throw something like that to stop me, and it didn't. And now I've given it to your competitor across the street. So I guess some of the advice that I ignored was that I didn't do a business plan. And here I am 30 years later.
So that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time and tell yourself some advice that would have helped you immensely along your journey, what
Mhm.
advice would you tell your younger self?
So I would have told myself to travel more in the beginning. I'm in this amazing business with the world to see. But when I started, as you have now heard my backstory, there wasn't a lot of money and there wasn't a lot of time for me to leave my office and to go see the world. And so my one regret is that I wish I would have traveled more, because the first thing that anyone ever asks me, if we're looking at a destination, they want to say, have you been there? And, you know, reasonably, I can't be everywhere, right? I had a gentleman say, well, have you gone to this Days Inn in Orlando? And I said, which one of the 65? Like there's 65 Days Inns in Orlando or something crazy. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I haven't. So I have to do a lot of research behind the scenes to be knowledgeable about some destinations that maybe I haven't traveled to, and then also live vicariously through my clients that I'm able to send to those places. And that's why I think it's important to do follow-ups with people that I've sent to some really cool places that maybe I haven't been to myself, just so that I have that feedback to share with the next person. So that would be my biggest regret, is that I didn't travel more back then.
Interesting. And are you traveling more now?
I am. Yes, and
Good.
actually I'm going on a Avalon River cruise in a couple of weeks. So we're going to Bordeaux and going to be on a couple rivers over there for a week, and going to experience some really cool wineries and castles. And that's unique for me. I haven't done that yet. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'll have to get some details. I booked a Mediterranean cruise through your company for my
You
daughter and
did.
I
Thank you.
this past summer, which was absolute. I tell everybody, I'm like, number one. I mean, there's a couple of top three things I want to do. And
Mhm.
at first, I didn't think a Mediterranean cruise was going to be up my alley, but it turned out it was the best vacation ever. I had
I'm
so
so
much
glad.
fun.
I'm so glad
Just
to hear it.
wonderful. So,
Well, I'm hoping Terry took care of you.
Yeah, no, it was great. Share with us, like how can we support you? Where do we find you? Where do we get Trips Ahoy? Tell us where we can locate you.
TripsAhoyTravel.com is my website. And actually, I just spoke to my web designer this week. We're going to be changing the website. So there's going to be a new one coming soon. And on there is a contact us button. And when you fill that out, it comes to me. And if it's for one of my other agents, then they can specify that, hey, I'm looking for Leslie, or I'm looking for Terry, or I'm looking for Amy. And then I forward that on to them. So it goes to them and they get that business. So that's the number one way probably to find us. We have all of our social media links that will be updated and on there for Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So we'll be people that you can follow along with and stay up with all of the exciting destinations that, they seem to change every year. What's trending is, TikTok. Everyone loves to see what's trending on TikTok. So we're definitely a part of that. And moving forward, that's where we will continue to grow our business.
Awesome. And what's the best travel for 2026? What's the trend? What do you see? What would you recommend?
A lot of Europe. We're selling a lot of Europe. Yeah.
Okay.
The river cruises, the ocean cruises is getting people out there. It's a good way to see someplace and then maybe want to go back and spend a longer amount of time. So, we encourage anyone who is wanting to venture out of the United States to go to Europe. We still do a lot of the Caribbean. We do a Hawaii, which is always popular. We put it together as a package. So we're a little bit different from most travel agencies, as we don't sit behind the computer and, do airline tickets all day. We actually specialize in putting the package together with the air, the hotel, the transportation from the airport to the hotel and back. Like I said, just really holding your hand throughout the whole process, from the minute you leave home to the minute you get to your resort, to while you're there, to when you get back to the US when you're all done. So just trying to be one-stop shop.
Full service.
You don't have to book this on your own. You can have somebody do it for you while you live your life, because it is very time consuming. If you've gone out and tried to research your own trip, it can be
Yes.
it can be fun, but it can also be a headache. Leave the work to us. Go live your life, do your job or whatever, and we'll get you set up and on that dream vacation. So you can create those memories to last a lifetime. So
Thank you so much for being a guest today. This was absolutely wonderful. And everybody out there, support Hilary.
that would be wonderful. We appreciate it. We love our clients and love making their dreams come true. So we're here for you.
Thank you so much, Hilary. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good one, Judy. Thanks again.
You bet. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Founders Hustle. I would absolutely love to know what resonated with you the most from today's guest. Go ahead and drop me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, if there's a future topic that you'd like me to touch on, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. But no matter where you're watching or streaming your favorite shows, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. Tell a friend about this. I would love the support. But in the meantime, keep living, keep growing, and keep hustling, because you are meant to do great things. See you next week.